All right. Well, shalom and certainly namaste to each and every one of you guys. I hope that you are living the most prosperous life and being blessed. The magnitude of all that's going on is absolutely mind-boggling, friends. And I know for us, so please, I may not always come across that way, and I guess on that I apologize for not being as perfect as I would like to be. But the reality of it is this stuff that's coming out and that we're learning, and I'm finding it is really a lot more than what we, even though we have known, it's infinitely larger. And there are now documents that are starting to manifest that have never been seen by humans that can give us insight into things that are going on, many of them very, very close to us within 5 or 6 years, according to the larger, if you would, cosmic time cycles. And that's why you'll hear, if you've paid any attention to astrologers and stuff, that's why you're hearing they're so almost in a frizzy. They're almost in a quandary because there's no real records showing the intensity of the movements of the planets that are happening now. It's not, folks, I know that it's okay. Christianity told you that all of this shit is bad, but I hate to tell you, they only told you that because if you knew what the truth was, you wouldn't follow them. And so that's not against Christianity. You know, the core root of Christianity, if you take the religion out of it, is I speak that I said I use more scriptures now, but the scriptures aren't remotely in the same context that they used to be. So it's easy to understand that they rewrote history and changed the context, even though they left many of the same principles and words. And so for us, that's kind of hard, you know, and I heard a statistic lately that says about 89% of humans are in the place spiritually of resistance. That is to say, you say, number one, I'm not going to change. Number two, there's no need for me to change. Number three, my mama and daddy would have never lied to me. And there's a whole list that you can go on. And if you just heard in those three that I listed, if you heard something inside of you that said that's you, then you should listen to it. So it seems to me Sources has kind of, I don't know, has dropped a little thing in, and Source says that I'm being almost too technical and that people are not really grasping what it is that I'm saying. And so if you go away after an hour of me blazing through this amazing stuff that I'm learning and you feel a little confused, it's okay. There's so much, and we have such a short amount of time to get a hold of it. And so I hope, I endeavor to, and I'm sure in time I will, you will recognize changes. And it's just so important. And you know, in Christianity, everybody says they think it's important, and then nobody acts like it's important. And unfortunately for many, and fortunately for the others, this is the most important thing you'll ever do in your life. And that's really hard for people to grasp that in their inner soul, that this is the real deal, and that what's going to come out of this inevitably is going to change humanity forever. And I could show you a lot of hidden ancient texts that they've been hiding from us intentionally. And so you can find those texts, you can study those texts if you're willing to put the time in. But there has been a lot said about what's coming for us. It's when you start hearing narratives written by the people who told us about the flood originally, and them telling us about when the next purging of the earth is going to happen is in the year 2029, you might ought to listen. It's okay if you doubt, but doubt does stop the flow of power. And so that's why I bring the things. I don't just bring you things. Sometimes the things are a bit much, and I have to learn, if you've heard me say this, that I have to learn how to navigate this playground that we live in now, because it's not the old playground. The paradigms have shifted. And so there's a lot of truth that we actually believe, to be honest with you, we were programmed and we were taught by our parents and we were taught by religion to not believe anything that they don't say. And we don't look at it like that. You don't look at your mama or your grandmother and go, you were a bold-faced liar. Everything you told me was a lie. Although I have to tell you, other than that you need a whipping for your bad behavior, that's pretty much correct. And so I encountered this with my own family. My grandfather preached for 40 years. My grandmother preached in the pulpit and blah, 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 blah. And they believed everything they said. Okay, let's get a hold of that. It's not like they were intentionally trying to deceive, and I don't think that most Christian preachers are, although there are some shysters, I have to admit that. I've met a few. But the reality of it is all of us, all of that, if you can do this for yourself, if you can be mature enough to look at that and go, okay, well, that's what they were programmed, and that's what they lived. But at least you can be sure that most of them believe what they said, even if it's wrong. Is that fair? Does that maybe help you find some peace with? For some of you, it's probably pretty difficult. You have a grandmother, you have a mother, they were godly people. You have a dad, you have an uncle, you have a brother. And these were people that on the outward adamantly believed that what they were living by and what they read in the Bible was in fact the only truth. And how do I know that? Because I was that person. And somebody said, well, man, you changed so fast. And it's like, once I see that something is not true, I have no interest to stay around. It's time at that point to move on. Let's continue our journey looking for what truth is. And unfortunately, folks, it's out there. The proof just simply needs you to step 5 steps out of Christianity and to begin to take your judgmental and opinionated self and calm it and quiet it and begin to look at the facts that have been uncovered and hidden from you. And if you do that, it will mess your life up wonderfully. If you can see that in that manner. So, the Corpus Hermeticum, as some of you have told me, are mind-boggling, and in fact they are. They're going to help a lot of us if we will listen, pay attention, and not resist. Then you will certainly see things that at some point in your journey you'll get those flashes. It is direct, it is intuitive. Unfortunately, some people seem to be more in league with your intuition, but just so you know, in the simplest forms, the intuition thoughts that you have are actually your higher self talking to you, because this is one of my pieces of journey. I want to know who my higher self is, damn it, and I want to have a conversation, okay? Not every now and then, every day. If I have this divine thing inside of me, I want its guidance, not my flesh guidance. Is anybody with me? Has our lives not been trashed enough by stupidity that we need to continue it when truth is presented to us? And so, there again, as I said, but it is truth and it is reality nonetheless. And there will be people, folks, I hate to tell you, it is true. There are going to be people who are going to be lost forever. And some of you may have reverted, oh yeah, there's a different version of hell. But if you listen to what was said, none of that was based solely on, it was all the decisions that you made created that reality for you. I want to give you the other side of that equation, which is exactly the same words. The opposite end of that scale, you made decisions aligned with source and with truth. And by doing so, you also created your end, your future. And it just doesn't look like all of these other people's, but you all did exactly the same thing. The only difference is which decisions, which choices you made. And there's no hope. There's no hope for you to blame that in the cosmic realm, anyways. Maybe here there is, but there's not in the cosmic realm. There's no need. There's no need for you to even come to consciousness and think that it's going to be okay for you. You're creating this. I promise you, if you start changing your thought processes and mind, there may not be another thing in your life change, but your life is going to change radically. And many, many people are recognizing that at lesser and more. Let's quit having the Christian competition thing go on, okay? Wherever you are is where you are. The question to you every single day is what are you going to do today? Who are you going to be today? Are you going to be the higher self person that is love and light and peace and joy? Or are you going to be the old drama person? And you know you can be a drama person and not necessarily have external drama, correct? Many people live lives full of drama, and the drama exists inside of them. Now, does it come out? Yes. But it lives in them constantly. I know that I found this out in counseling that these Christian people, and they'd come and spill their guts to me for 6.5 hours only to find out, man, I don't know how this person hadn't committed suicide yet. I don't know if I could handle all the crap that they live with every day. And yet, you know what? They just continue to create that. And the minute that they choose not to, folks, we have the power inside of us to break the spell of the archons that has been put on humanity. And if you're questioning if that is true, you won't question when what was predicted 5,000 years ago of the Anunnaki returning, who were the people who genetically engineered you. And here's a piece I'm going to give you because this is a quick synopsis. The ancient Sumerian texts tell us about the Anunnakis coming and bioengineering humanity. And okay, so if you think and if you listened at all, you might immediately go, well, I thought you read that thing in the Nag Hammadi about all them archons created us, every piece. And did you know you hear the exact same story in Sumeria? There's only one thing that's any different. Instead of being archons, which is what the Gnostics named them, they're called Anunnaki. They're exactly the same thing, and they are the ones that created you. They bioengineered you. They established your DNA. They established the change. Humanity just existed. And it wasn't Yahweh who created you. You was already created thousands of years before Yahweh. So, all right, I'm going to move on now. Because I really get jacked about this stuff. It's amazing what I'm learning, how free I become by not being tied with all of these lies. I'm sorrowful for everyone who doesn't believe. I truly am sorrowful. But on the other side, just because you don't choose not to believe doesn't mean I'm going to choose not to believe. And so, and nature took the object of her love and wound herself completely around him, and they were intermingled, for they were lovers. And this is why beyond all creatures on the earth, man is twofold. Now, just so you know, we read some about the twofold humans that popped up in the Nag Hammadi text on Saturday. We are the only species that is both mortal and immortal. We are the only species that is both a carnal mind and a soul, a spirit mind. We are the only ones that get to experience this. And it's quite profound. Mortal because of your body, but because of the essential man, we are immortal. That's why people will tell you that you are already immortal. Because if your focus, if your thought, if your mind, if your wisdom, if your understanding is totally geared towards being a human, then you just stay in that world and live in that world, because it's going to fail you horribly, and you're still going to go back into reincarnation while the other people that could see leave this place. And actually the energies are already here and the separation is already starting. That's why the divisions that are happening, they're all totally in control, folks. Nothing is out of control. The war in Iran is not out of control. The war in Ukraine is not out of control. They are all part of the vehicles that Source is using, and he is going to use to complete the two world system, which is actually energy. So there are high energy, high frequency people, and there are low energy, low frequency people. You cannot walk in my timeline if you are low energy. And some of you are already starting to see that. People who are low energy, who no longer are in your life, and there's people leaving your life today that are part of that. So this isn't done, it's ongoing. But what I'm telling you is so that you can begin to see for yourself and learn and navigate these things so that they don't destroy you. If your best friend leaves you because of what you believe, let them go. It's not a heart, it's not a hate, it's not a mean. It's simply, I have knowledge you don't possess, and this knowledge I have tells me I must protect my sacred frequency over anyone. It happens, folks. I'm telling you, this world is full of people that you'll never see again in your life. And it might be your mama, and it might be your daddy, and it might be your husband, and it might be your wife, and it might be your friends, and it might be coworkers. It really isn't important to the universe what that person is to you in the flesh. Because remember, this is just an avatar. It's not what it means to this. It's not what it means to your mind. It's what it means in the spirit realm. Everything is spirit, just in case you don't know. And so, though deathless and possessed of sway over all, yet doth he suffer as a mortal does, subject to fate. Thus, though above the harmony, within the harmony he hath become a slave, though male-female, a father male-female, and though he's sleepless from a sleepless sire, yet is he overcome by sleep. Have you understood that? It's deep. It's deep, but that's actually also directly tied to who you are. You are all of these things. You know, it's so funny. All the people still want to bless their food out loud, and they still want to say amen. And that's all good if that's what you need to do to get through. But I'm not going to do that. I have no need to do that. What lives in me is alive in me all the time. And it's not necessary. My heart is a place of thankfulness and praise to Source constantly. You don't need to hear it. In fact, actually, you're not supposed to hear it. Neither is anyone supposed to hear yours. And if you really believed what Yeshua said about going in your closet, I've known Christians that were so dedicated, or they thought they were, that they would literally go in their closet. And I take my hat off to that. I commend that, because they at least saw one of the principles. Now, if they come in this time that we're in and they come to a place of truth, they will see that metaphor that they were doing, and hopefully they will recognize, oh, I need to do the same thing, but the inside is in here. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. No one can control it except for you. And so, we are those who were created. In the ancient times, I've found several places and actually read different pieces of the Cherokees and stuff, the American Indians who supposedly, according to white men coming from England, were these horrible people, and they were so spiritually advanced over all that Christianity ever will be, it's not funny. And many that it still practice the truth that Christianity called magic, and it's not magic, friends. All of that BS is exactly what I just said. There's no truth to it. There is power. We are supposed to be power. So ask yourself this. If Source speaks to me and gives me a direct message of intellect that comes from Source through me, how the hell is that any different than somebody that prays to Jesus to heal their kid? See, the reality is it's not any different in the action. It's totally different in the manifestation, because you get nothing and I get everything. I'm telling you guys, it's time for you guys to quit being all droopy mouth because your world's getting trashed. Okay? Your world's going to get trashed whether you accept it or not. I'm sorrowful, but that is the truth. And it's accelerating. It's not slowing down. You watch what happens in our government, how many people end up in prison, and how our government in the United States, how they are collapsing even in this very second. And so, we have a father, we have a God that is father, mother, a harmonious, complete. The purpose of us going where we are going is so that we become father, mother, again, masculine, feminine, in total harmony. I see the damage that they did, because what they did is, on one side, women have a need for a man to have sex with them, and on the other side, men have a need for a woman to have sex with them. And all of that is a craving, because in your soul, in your spark, you know that you were once that. And you can't ever find it. You can't have enough sex to ever collect yourself back to the masculine and feminine. That has to come out of the spirit realm. And it is happening, and that's why people are getting joyous and happy no matter what their life is, and they're starting to grow, and their world's changing, and the flowers are starting to be beautiful, and it's a wonderful zippity-doo-dah day every day, whether it's raining or whether it's cold or whether it's hot or whether it's none of those. So, thus, though above the harmony, within the harmony, he hath become a slave. Though male and female, as from a father, male and female. Those are all true words, friends. There is barbello, okay, and there is monad. The first two expressions of thought that became logos, or spoken word from source. Yeshua loved, knew, and honored barbello almost more than he did the monad, if you go read the ancient texts. And there's many of those that are coming out, written documents of Yeshua, and words that he said and words that he taught, and they're totally the opposite concept of what Christianity tells you. In fact, I got blessed to hear some documents where he gives Yeshua, the guy that y'all never heard any prophecies from, him give a timeline of all the things that was going to happen on this earth after he died. And folks, he nailed it to the T. Everything. He said, they're going to call me God, and I'm not a God. And they're going to do this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do this. There was like 15 different things that are recorded in history that Yeshua out of his own mouth said, and every one of them is religion. He knew exactly what was coming. He's divine. And you are too. That's why he said, whatever I do on this earth, you can do it also. And we go in the book of Revelation, I think it's chapter 13. John writes that as he was, so are we to be. He was enlightened, we are to be enlightened. That's the purpose, that's the plan, that's the cause, folks. It's not for you to stay over there holding on to your lying, archonically controlled Christianity. And so, thereon I say, teach on, O mind of me, for I myself as well am amorous of the Logos. I'm in love with the Word. And the shepherd said, this is the mystery kept hid until this day. And I can say those words to you, dear one, as a shepherd. That is the mystery. What I just read to you is the mystery that's been hidden from you until today. But can I give you some good news? It's not hidden from you, even if it has been any longer. Now, the question is are you a caliber of person that will take it and do something with it, or will you simply let the goodness fall to the ground? And there again, that's nothing but choices that you are obligated to make. You will make them one way or another, even if you say you're not going to. And so, nature embraced by man brought forth a wonder, oh so wonderful. For as he had the nature of the concord of the seven, who, as I said to thee, were made of fire and spirit, nature delayed not, but immediately brought forth 7 men in correspondence with the natures of the 7 male, female, and moving in the air. Thereon I said, O shepherd, for now I am filled with great desire and I long to hear. Do not run off. And I will have to tell you that a place that you can, because I don't judge you. I don't know most things about what other people are doing. I only know what comes out of them because that is our mirror of what they are inside. Okay? You don't probably like it, but there are gifted people that are around you if you're playing the lie to yourself game, and they look at you and they read your mail and just choose not to say anything. In fact, as I've shared with you about mental telepathy, there won't be any game when mental telepathy comes in because you won't be able to hide it. What I was talking about to you guys somewhere around 29 or 30 of this, where we are, I suspect by then we will be functioning more in a mental telepathic state than we are in a vocal state. Now, I know y'all probably don't think that the world is going to get flipped upside down on its head that fast, but you might be surprised what's coming. And I would love to share it all, and I would love for people to see it, and I would love for them in their heart to fall in love with it. I love the wording that he uses here because I feel that constantly, and maybe some of you do as well. But I'm in love with his words. His words aren't hard for me. His words resonate with me. Wow. Look at how horrible the lie that they've propagated on me has been. And instead of resisting, I have a desire for that to flow into me. That's why people get downloads, is because they are open to allow the flow to come into them. And I'm not talking about the spiritual cliche. I'm talking about the reality of the flow of the Spirit. And so in that manner, if that's what you're functioning in, bravo. Okay? On the other side, if you're just following clichéic words like vibe and flow, and they got a whole bunch of other ones, which isn't any different than gangsters on the street in their languages. It's just cliches. They don't mean anything except to the people. And so he says, thereon, O shepherd, for now I am filled with great desire, and I long to hear. Do not run off. And the shepherd said, keep silence, for not as yet have I unrolled for thee the first discourse, the logi, lo, I am still, I said. In such wise then, as I have said, the generation of these seven came to pass. Earth was as woman, her water filled with longing and ripeness she took from fire, spirit from aether, nature thus brought forth frames to suit the form of man. And man from light and life changed into soul and mind, from life to soul, from light to mind. So think about that. From life to soul, from light to mind. I know that many of you probably know some of these things inherently without even knowledge of them, but I do have to tell you today that we haven't given the credence to the real teachings. It's really sad, having been a Christian pastor and now to look back at all the lies that people live in. But Yeshua gives us a really stark statement when he says that you must become on the outside like you are on the inside. And why must we do that? Because the only way that people can see your light is by what emanates from you. See, we really think that we can BS people and get away with it. As you begin to grow, for anyone who is starting to grow and starting to enlighten and starting to awaken and starting to remember that they are divine and that they have been divine and that they've always been divine and that they're just playing a game in a new suit of clothes, and next lifetime, if they don't make it, they're going to play another game in a new suit of clothes. It's really that simple. But as we begin to do that, we then also gain things like perception. Uh, it's been quite amazing how Source has brought things, and I've looked at them, and I knew what the thing was, but I knew it under the old paradigm, and now when I look at it, it was totally different. It was like this is an amethyst crystal. It's a geode, a natural, very powerful stone. All crystals, because you are crystalline based as well. And so all of these crystals, and all my life, this has been viewed as something that's evil. It's something that those woo-woo witchcraft people do. And I was one of those. I can't tell you how many thousands of times I've told people that that's witchcraft. And then now I pick it up and I see us in it. Nothing's changed, but nothing is the same. If you're not encountering those things, and I was you, I would be concerned about why not. So, I would like for you to also see how we have been trained away. This is going to be a weird statement probably coming from me, but I'm starting to recognize the lack of connection and the lack of love and care that we have for Mother Earth and the amount of damage and destruction that we've done to this earth. I know you guys may not believe it, but part of the refreshing, part of the changing, is because of the damage we've done to the earth. And those people who will continue to do those kind of things when we could live at such a high intellect. We have technologies, friends, for hundreds of years that have been bought by big corporations and hidden from you. Okay? Not because they were inferior, because they were superior, and they wiped away the cash flow. This gas thing that's going on, there is no reason whatsoever. America has more oil and more gas than all of the Arabian countries put together. The thing of what has been going on with that is that if we use all of theirs, because they use it as a source of money, if we use all of theirs, then we're the only ones on this earth that possess any. If you haven't understood that that's been going on since the beginning of this nation, then you really are a little bit naive. That's exactly what the game is. That's why oil is so important. That's why when you give away our reserves that we have stockpiled so we can keep functioning as a people, if something happens to our supply lines that we are using, we get to keep functioning. If you notice, they're not functioning. The war in Ukraine is ending because Vladimir Putin doesn't have the money to keep doing the war. That's all. That's the only reason. And why doesn't he have the money? Because someone has stopped his flow of cash. And so when you begin to accept the reality, though it is spiritual, everything that is functioning in a human realm has to do with money. And so you can judge the whole world based solely on money as long as you're talking about humanity. When you start talking about the spirit realm, it's a totally different issue. So, the earth we have done a lot of damage to Mother Earth, to Gaia. And I'm glad for all the things. Now, you say, oh, well, the Green New Deal then was a good thing. If you're not very intelligent, it probably was. Okay? I don't disagree. We should have been able to come up with a zero emissions car that is will perpetually run. And we should have been able to do that when Nikola Tesla was alive. In fact, he was destroyed and all of his writings taken away because he was a mystic, and that's exactly his heart was to help humans. He wanted us all to have free electricity, no $600 a month bills during the summer. He wanted us to extract electricity, which exists everywhere around you constantly, and he wanted to extract that so that you had a machine that was put in the middle of your house and it generated all of the electricity that you needed. What would happen? They didn't need power companies. They didn't need poles. They didn't need wire. And so when you just take all of that and you look at the immensity of the amount of money that they've been able to extract from people and the wealth that has been done by the cutting down of trees for poles. You want to be a tree hugger. Why don't we have somebody that's tree hugging? We quit cutting any poles for electrical power and we force the government to give us back Nikola Tesla's inventions, which will generate electricity in your house for $0 after the machine's paid for the rest of your life. Why isn't anybody talking about those higher conscience things? Why is it all about your spirit guides telling you, instead of us dealing with the realities that we should be aware of if we're truly spiritual? I have some concerns. I'm not against mediums, but there's a lot of fake mediums out there. So, in such wise, as I have said, the generation of these seven came to pass. Earth was as a woman. Why do we call her Mother Earth? Because she's as a woman. Her water filled with longing, ripeness she took from fire, spirit from the ether. Nature thus brought forth frames to suit the form of man. And man from light and life changed into soul and mind, from life to soul, and from light to mind. And thus continued all the sense world's parts until the period of their end with new beginnings. Now listen to the rest of the discourse, the logos, the words, which thou dost long to hear. The period being ended, the bond that bound them all was loosened. I want to overwhelm you in this millisecond. What he is about to say to you is exactly a picture of what has already been 7 times, and this is the final one. Okay? So if you can allow yourself to open your mind, if it's closed, just like you have to open your crown chakra to receive energy, then please open your mind and listen to the reality. This is the last chance that humans will have to survive and to thrive and to prosper without being locked in the archonic prison. It's crazy. It is crazy, but it's so true. And so, I want to ask this question. Do you, inside of you, honestly, do you really long to hear? Is it really true about you? I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm simply saying that you must know. You do already, whether you face it or acknowledge it. But do you want to know what this is all about? The period being ended, the bond that bound them all was loosened. When you hear these people that are on television that are telling you that they got messages from the other side that are telling you that everything is collapsing, that is not truth, and you read Trismegistus thousands of years ago told us about the time when the bonds would begin to be loosened. We are reading this by divine appointment tonight and tomorrow and next Wednesday and last Wednesday and the one before that. These are divine appointments. Source has brought truth to you. Will you accept it? That's what it's all about. And so the period being ended, we are coming to the end of the 7th session of humanity. Helena Blavatsky, had we continued in her book, would have told you the same words. The bond that bound them all. What is the bond that bounds us all? It's humanity. was loosened by God's will. So this isn't something, this is part of what God has always willed for humanity, for us to be free. For all the animals being male, female, at the same time with man, were loosed apart. Some because partly male, some in like fashion, partly female. Loosed though. And straightway God spoke by his holy word, Logos. Increase ye in increasing, and multiply in multitude, ye creatures and creations all. And man that hath mind in him, let him learn to know that he himself is deathless. It's the greatest con job that's ever been worked on humanity, folks. Is you believe that you are going to die. You weren't taught that your body, yes, it's going to die. Doesn't affect you in any way. It just simply means it's time for you to move on to a new house. That's hard for some of you to even hear that, isn't it? Because we place so much value. It was such an amazing word when Yeshua says, he was asked a question about they were feeling sorrowful for all the pain he had suffered on the cross. And he looks at them and smiles and said, it didn't hurt. Because he knew that this is fake. This is an avatar. This is a holographic suit that I'm sitting here, and inside I am a glow of nothing but pure, perfect, loving, kind heart. Light is inside of me. Sometimes it actually comes out, and people have seen that come out of me on the pulpit and years ago. It's when we begin to come in coherence with Source, and it's been going on all along, but most had no knowledge of it. Some are chased away by it, and others are drawn to it. It's the drawn to ones that you focus your attention on, dear love. And so, increase ye in increasing, and multiply in multitude, you creatures and creations all. And man that hath mind in him, let him learn to know that he himself is deathless, and that the cause of death is love. How many of you have that revelation in you yet? Our bodies dying is an act of love from Source. What happens to the human body? It wears out. It's not something bad. It's actually an intended end. Because in the spirit realm, it doesn't change anything. You're just no longer housing in a body. You are actually full consciousness again, which you have been for thousands of years. And so, and that the cause of death is love, though love is all. So when I told you guys over the last few weeks, I've said this multiple times, that I think that it's time we begin to have new dialogue about what real Source love actually is, because it's not what you think it is. Source love is honest and true and right and bright and kind and love and hard. There is no darkness in love. And whether you recognize it or not, if you're still functioning in the mind washing of Genesis, that the physical body part of you is the part that was made in God's image, you've been manipulated massively. Your human body is not the part of God that you resemble. Your inner light is his image. How horribly shameful it is of us, when given that truth, to want to hold on to the Rob that I am. It's horrible. I can't imagine how anyone, after hearing just what I've shared tonight, I can't imagine anyone that would want to hang on to who they are as a person. I know there will be I know there's nothing I can do to help you if you're in that case. You must make those decisions for yourself. But I have at least told you the truth that you've never heard in most cases. And so, we have to learn that we are deathless. Why do you think everybody's saying that you must remember that you are divine? They're saying the same words. You have to remember. You have to learn. Well, once we begin to remember, then that activates learning. And so he says, when he said this, his forethought did, by means of fate and harmony, affect their couplings and their generations founded. And so all things were multiplied according to their kind. And he who thus hath learned to know himself hath reached that good which doth transcend abundance. Wow. Can I give you guys a secret? All of those people out there teaching you how to manifest wealth are feeding you full of crap. Never has been the thing. That's proof to you that their message is not true. I'm not saying that we can't learn how to manifest. But if the only thing that focuses in your mind when you hear the word manifest is greed and money and more and self, folks, you missed the point. Because it was supposed to be about light and love and kindness and no fear of where the next whatever that I need the universe to bring to me comes from. Very soon you shall see my glory. Wow. And so, when he had said this, his forethought did, by means of fate and harmony, affect their couplings and their generations founded. For also things were multiplied according to their kind. And he who thus hath learned to know himself hath reached that good which doth transcend abundance. Did you hear that? What did Yeshua tell us? Can I take you back to another Bible scripture? Yeshua told us straight up. He said, I would above all things that you prosper. I believe it was John that wrote it. I would above all things that you prosper and be in good health. And then he puts the but. And I know there's people that don't like the but the but is the but. Okay? But all of that is based on what happens in your soul. He was telling you that if your goal is gain, then you miss the point. It's all about. If you don't take care of this, and if you don't come in harmony and coherence and alignment with your higher self, friend, you can't make enough money to find what I already have. Sorry. My source is exactly that. My source. Not the world. So we have reached that good which doth transcend abundance. But he who through a love that leads astray expends his love upon his body. He stays in darkness, wandering and suffering through his senses things of death. Did I just read to you the power of the division between the high frequency and the low frequency? Oh, I'll give you the answer. Yes, I did. Folks, if the only thing that you can see in the world is money, you're doomed. Until you allow yourself to awaken to the reality. Does that mean that we don't need money? Of course it doesn't mean that. It simply means, what are you chasing? Are you chasing the truth and source brings things that you need into your life, or are you chasing the things and source isn't part of your life? And those two things sound similar, but they are massively different. And so I'll say, in the words of one of my best friends, the Apostle Shaul, rejoice, I tell you. And then again, I say, rejoice. If you have come this far, and if any of this is changing and flipping switches inside of you, and you're still seeing old pieces of you manifest, but maybe for the first time in your life, you're actually starting to recognize them, you have every reason to celebrate. We're not going to be defeated. Those things are going to happen, and whatever source is going to do, that's his business. It ain't mine. I don't care. The people that go down and they have to go through a time of reparations or whatever it is that the deal is about the souls, we've already been told the souls are not going to die. So you don't know what your soul is expected for tomorrow. So why would you be concerned about souls that you know nothing about, that you're not in any way associated with? Why would that have an effect on you? It doesn't affect me a bit. I'm sorrowful, but whatever they go through, they needed to go through. Whatever you go through, you needed to go through, whether you like it or don't, and most of the time, none of us like it. I certainly don't. But the reality is my consciousness knows that I needed this. And I find amazing things working when I embrace it in that manner. I've been so amazed by people who say all of these words about what God is, and I've never heard one of them ever say that God corrected me. And I'm going to tell you, if God isn't being active and open with you and correcting your behavior, I really am very sorrowful for you. But it's obvious you don't have a relationship. If you're not hearing those intuitions telling you that how you behaved wasn't okay, I feel very sorrowful for you. I'm not scared. He corrects me weekly, sometimes daily. And so I will say to you again, it's a matter of how you perceive. I perceive it as being a wonderful act of his kindness and love that he doesn't want me to fail. And if I continue down the path that I'm on, I will fail. Now, if you can find a greater love than that, then you should go serve that greater love. But I haven't been able to. I'm not scared when he tells me that I've done wrong. In fact, he seldom tells me that I've done right. But I have a deep knowing when I've pleased him and when I haven't. And so I hope you guys will let that. I know there's many of you that are functioning, and you're functioning at that level in fear. There's no reason to be fearful. He doesn't hate you. He's not mad at you. He loves you. But he does want you to do what's right. And that should become the light is what that is. Doing right is proof of the light in you. Is anyone hearing that? I hope you are. Because if you are above all people massively blessed. Shalom to each and every one of you. I hope that you will feel his love and his presence in you every day. Take 30 minutes and meditate. And yes, you're going to have days where you can, and you're going to have days when you don't, and you're going to have days when you try and you don't. Still, you know what? It doesn't matter. Just keep going back and regenerating yourself. Inevitably, if that is what you will, that is what you will become. And so blessings and love and peace and light and goodness and strength and all the wonderful things that were meant for us, may they come and manifest in your life. Namaste and shalom.